The 3 stages of listening to bagpipe music. Stage 1 being intrigued.
What is this? Bagpipes? Okay.
Stage 2 being enthralled.
Alexa, play bagpipe music.
Bagpipes mixed from Spotify.
It's so beautiful.
Stage 3 being over it.
No more. That's good. I am so excited about this vlog. When I first started my channel back at the end of May 2022, I decided that it was going to be all about Highlander romance. And then I branched out and I completely forgot about Highlander romance. But I want to go back to my roots for this vlog. I want to rediscover all that Highlander romance has to offer. I've only ever read one author, well, Lindsay Sands I did an arc for, but also Paula Quinn. I fell in love with her McGregor series and her Children of the Mist series, and then fell out of love with her subsequent series. But I'm not ready to give up on Highlander. I want to experience more of what Highlander has to offer. I want to try some authors that I've never tried before, and I want to give Lindsay Sands one more chance. So I have 5 books that I have hand selected from authors I've been dying to try that are well-known Highlander romance authors. Many of these authors are people recommended by my lovely online bookish friends, and I want to thank you, by the way, for that. Without further ado, let's get into the 5 books that I've chosen for my Highlander romance vlog. Alyssa Braden has come highly recommended by you guys. She's written a 3-book series called Midnight in Scotland. The first book in the series, The Making of a Highlander, has a 4.31 on Goodreads. Let's read the summary. In Alyssa Braden's enchanting new Midnight in Scotland series, the unlikeliest matches generate the greatest heat. All it takes is a spark of Highland magic. No lady can tempt him more than the next shore. Everyone wants handsome adventurer John Huxley to settle down. Family, friends, London society, everyone except John. He's evaded too many scheming title huntresses to trust in happily ever after. Now, a vow made to a dying friend has him locked in a land dispute with a stubborn Scot who offers one way out: win the Highland Games. Oh, this sounds fun already. John likes a challenge, but this one's impossible. Still, with training from the Scot's stepdaughter, victory might be within reach. Oh, this is going to be a fun training romance. He only has to teach the fiery, foul-mouthed, breeches-wearing lass how to land a lord. Oh, she's a strong lady. I like it. It seems impossible is just getting started. She's no lady. She's Mad Annie Tulloch. Everyone calls her Mad Annie. True, her best friend is a ghost. Her best friend is a ghost? Okay. And yes, her greatest talents involved cooking for giants and taunting ridiculously handsome Englishmen. But she's not mad, she's desperate. To save her friend, Annie must marry a lord. The trouble is, no lord will look twice at a hoyden like her. I have a feeling I know what hoyden means. This calls for lady lessons, and she knows just the uptight Englishman to provide them. When did a simple bargain become a battle of desire? Amidst cursed castles, caber tossing, and questionable chaperones, John and Annie's wildfire attraction threatens to send their plans up in flames. And when Annie's family is targeted by a dangerous enemy, John is tempted to stay, fight, and to win the greatest prize of all: a fiery lass's tender, loyal heart. This sounds like all kinds of fun. I've heard great things about Vanessa Kelly, and I've been able to grab several of her books. I got this for 75 cents at a used bookstore. I was very excited. This is book 3 of the Clan Kendrick series. Now, I thought about starting at book 1, but it only got a 3.78. I want this series and this author to have a fighting chance, so I thought I would start with a 4-point-something rating. Let's learn a little bit more about it. In this dazzling new novel from best-selling author Vanessa Kelly, the wildest member of Clan Kendrick has found his purpose as a government agent. That sounds super cool. Now he must also meet his match. Lady Sabrina Bell has never been so embarrassed in her life. Man, I know what that's like. Not only did her new suitor fail to appear for their morning rendezvous in Hyde Park, but a thief pushed her into the Serpentine. Being rescued by a burly Highlander just adds to her humiliation. Nor is he content with rescuing her just once. Even when Sabrina travels to Edinburgh as part of King George's entourage, Graham Kendrick is there, interfering, exaggerating, exasperating and still very tempting. Once notorious for being the most unruly Kendrick brother, Graham now runs dangerous missions for the king's spy master. Yet nothing has prepared him for Sabrina. The only child of a wealthy earl and the pampered goddaughter of the king himself, she is stubborn, impetuous, and far too good for him. He doesn't deserve her, but he can protect her and then send her safely back home. But the bonny Sassenach, I feel like I'm pronouncing half of these words wrong, has her own ideas and a plan for seduction that no red-blooded Highlander could resist. I can't wait to dive in. I've heard great things about Susan Enoch, and the other day, for 25 cents a piece, I got the 3 primary works in her Wild Wicked Highlander series. The titles are too good not to share. Hit Me With Your Best Scot, Scot Under the Covers, and it's getting Scot in here. I'm not starting at the first one again because the second one actually has the highest rating. And I know what you guys are going to say. You're going to say, don't over-rely on the Goodreads ratings. But I feel it's probably not the worst thing in the world if I start at the second in a series. I don't think I'm going to be too lost. So I just want to give all these guys a fighting chance. So I'm trying to go for the ones that are the most highly rated. When a resourceful English lady and a hot-blooded Highlander join forces to trick a scoundrel, every rule will be broken. Miranda Harris is known for her charm, wit, and ability to solve any problem she encounters. But when her brother lands neck-deep in gambling debt to a crafty villain, and Miranda is subsequently blackmailed into marrying him, she must enlist the help of the devil himself to save the family honor and herself. Devilishly handsome Highlander Aidan McTaggart, there's a name, knows next to nothing about the ways of the Ton, but he most certainly knows his way around gaming halls and women's hearts. Still, Aidan is not sure how he'll manage to find a Sassenach. There's that word again. Sassenach bride. Sassenach. I'm gonna figure this out. In time to save his family's inheritance. When his almost sister-in-law Miranda comes to him for assistance, he proposes a partnership. She will help him navigate London society and he'll teach her everything about wagering and winning back her freedom. The beautiful, clever lass intrigues Aidan, but is she playing her own game? Or are the sparks between them real? He's accustomed to risking his pocket, but betting on Miranda's love is a game he can't afford to lose. I just got goosebumps. Yes, I did. Let's do this. One author I've seen associated with Highlander quite a bit is Hannah Howell. And the Murray Family series, which is 22 books, is very highly rated. So what did I do? I picked the one that is the most highly rated since I have access to all of them thanks to AnyPlay. I've picked number 5, which has a 4.27 on Goodreads. Let's read what this one has to offer. National best-selling author Hannah Howell has delighted readers everywhere with her tales of adventure and passion set against the tumultuous backdrop of medieval Scotland. Now she sweeps us away again as she continues her trilogy? This is a trilogy? With 22 books? Featuring the irrepressible Murray daughters. Highland Knight tells of revenge and desire in 15th century Scotland, where a proud knight seeking retribution falls in love with his beautiful hostage. When Cameron MacAlpin learns the identity of the golden beauty tossed before him as a debt payment, he can't believe his fortune, for cat-eyed Avery Murray is the perfect weapon to use against Peyton Murray, Avery's brother, who dishonored Cameron's own sister. I feel like I'm getting confused now. Yet his plan to deliver the same insult and avenge his clan is thwarted by spirited Avery herself, who tempts him to forget everything but the passion coursing through his blood. Still, a knight of the Highlands owes his allegiance to his clan before all else, even his heart. Okay, but I'm still a smidge confused. Let's go along for the ride, why not? Okay, Lindsay Sands, I'm just gonna say it. The Highland Bride series, I have most of these books. I've only read book 11, which was the arc that I read, which also happens to be the highest rated of all the books in the series. So technically I've already read it. Now that being said, the next highest rated of this series, I also don't own, which was a surprise considering I own so many of them. But Highland Brides number 9, Highland Treasure, got a 4.10 on Goodreads. And I look at this cover and I just have questions. Why are you so wet? Is it the tub? Are you sweating? Am I just supposed to swoon? Because I just have questions. I don't know. Just looking at it. I don't understand. And is the kilt uncomfortable if you're that wet? What does water do to that kind of fabric? I don't know. This cover's not working for me. This is going to help me though to figure out if this is an author I want to continue to pursue. So let's read more about Highland Treasure. A Buchanan brother finds a love to treasure in the scintillating historical romance from New York Times bestselling author Lindsay Sands. After escaping from the English soldiers who attacked her home and imprisoned her in a dungeon, Lady Elisande de Valence is grateful for the rugged Scots who are escorting her to safety in the Highlands. Even with danger dogging her every step, she hasn't expected to welcome the strong, comforting embrace of their leader, Rory Buchanan. They say he's a healer, but she finds the heat of his touch does so much more. Let his brothers get married. Rory is too busy tending to the sick to be bothered with wooing a bride. But when he is tasked with accompanying a family friend's treasure to the Highlands, he is surprised to learn the treasure is a beautiful woman on the run, and even more surprised to discover bruises hidden by her veil. Rory makes it his mission to tend to her injuries and protect her, but the thought of losing her makes him realize that perhaps it is his heart that is most in need of healing. So this could be good. Caretaking. Maybe he's super sweet. It could be good. We'll see. So this is my family's spring break week, and it's just getting started. So I'm looking forward to reading one chapter of each of these 5 books over the next 5 days, and then on the 6th day deciding which one to pick and then reading it over the following week. So I can't wait to share all this with you, and in between you're going to be seeing clips of the fun that we have had over our spring break. So I hope you enjoy. I'll have chapters on the bottom if you just want to move on to the next thing. So without further ado, let's get started.
Well, I just finished the first chapter of The Making of a Highlander by Elisa Braden. That is how you pronounce her name, not Alyssa. This chapter was very crazy. Mad Annie is our main character. She is considered crazy by everybody in the town. And you kind of get the sense that it's because she more dresses like a man than a woman. She also has a really sharp tongue. She pretends to put a hex on some awful people that are in the village. But she has a pretty sad existence. She is trying to help a little boy who's been ill for over a year. She starts out with a woman who's kind of on the edge of town, considered a witch, who's trying to help this little boy get better. And she bumps into this Englishman who is desperately trying to get land from her stepfather. And he's been in the area for over a year just trying to make this deal work. It's not working out. He's getting to the edge of his sanity, I think. He's still quite handsome. Speaking of, this author really likes talking about men's backsides. And I'll tell you, I'm here for it. It's pretty funny. I don't know that I've ever heard so many men's backsides described as such things of beauty, but I'm not mad about it. To get back to the Mad Annie, this took a turn that I didn't expect that made me kind of sad. It reminded me of The Sixth Sense, actually. The little boy that she has been trying to help and protect is a ghost, apparently. You're not sure if this is a figment of her imagination or actually a ghost. It does say there's a ghost in the summary, so I guess he's really a ghost. But yes, the little boy doesn't exactly exist, and it's very sad, and she is just dejected at the end of the chapter, and Huxley, the man who will be our hero, the Englishman, comes to her aid, brings her out of the rain, and that is where the chapter ends. So quite a wild ride for one chapter. It was like 20 minutes long too, so big stuff. Well, I just read chapter 1 of Vanessa Kelly's book, Highlander's English Bride. We have Graham. He is like a Bow Street runner, only he's on his own thing. I'm not sure exactly what, it's like a private detective. He's looking for someone who just stole a watch of the Duke of York, so it's a big deal. And while he's trying to get his thief, this is someone who's eluded him quite a few times, there's a lady in the park at night. This is in New York City, by the way. This is 1822 as well. So picture old New York. There's a lady being accosted by a thief. He's trying to take her reticule. And as Graham tries to go and help, she falls into the Serpentine. And yeah, so he goes and protects her. We've got some interesting things that they say. He talks about her pert, you know what, once her dress gets wet, which I thought was kind of funny. Oh, you found a pine cone? Cool. She mentions that how he's big and strong and Scottish, which I thought, this narrator's a hoot. Anyway, there's definitely some chemistry there, but there's a question as to what she's doing in the middle of the park in the middle of the night, especially as a lady. And Graham has quite a few members of his family that he is trying to impress. I think probably from the other two books. Hey, honey! Looks like my time's up to, to review. But that was pretty much the first chapter in a nutshell. Very interesting. Fabulous with me doing this, but I wanted you to see the view from my window. The red buds are blooming. They're just so pretty. And it's funny, my 3-year-old is still figuring out colors. And she actually said the right color. She goes, oh, the purple flowers. I'm like, yeah, that's a red bud. And I'm like, maybe I won't tell her that because bless her heart, she's still trying to figure out colors. And that's just confusing. Why are purple flowers called red bud? The world may never know. Anyway, let's talk about chapter 1 of Susan Enoch's book, Scot Under the Covers. Good night. That is a long chapter. It was 45 minutes long. I don't know if I've ever read a first chapter that's that long. We've got the 2 other brothers that have come to London. The first one got married in the first book, and all 3 of them need to get married before the daughter gets married or they lose everything. All the inheritance, they lose land. They're going to be in big trouble. And there was an agreement made with the parents that by the time their youngest daughter got married, all 3 of the brothers had to be married too. So no one knew that until the daughter got engaged. So now she feels badly, but still they have to do it. They are in London looking for an English bride. That's the other thing. They've got to marry an English woman in order to keep the money. They don't really care for English women. They miss Scotland with the actual weather, as they say. There's a woman named Miranda, though, that he meets at a tea, and he's actually quite taken with her. She takes him to task. She says she doesn't like gamblers. He's rough around the edges, which you would expect from a Highlander. That's essentially the chapter in a nutshell. He's got to find a bride. He's in a bad mood. He's just found a dog that everyone loves. He has kind of a adversarial relationship with pretty much everyone in his family, but that's just how he is. He's more cynical than the younger brother who got married in the first book. So we'll see what happens. That I'm looking so rough, but I did not have time to take a shower yet today, so this is me sans makeup. But I had to do what I could when I could. Just finished the first chapter of Highland Knight. It's giving me Highland vibes. I haven't really had that yet. Honestly, this is the 4th book. I'm getting the rough-hewn Highlander vibes, finally, that I've been looking for. But I don't know, because there's talk of, like, our main character, Cameron, he believes his sister was sexually assaulted by the brother of the gal who is held captive. So he's, rather than, I'm a little confused, I'll be honest. Avery is our heroine, and she is apparently payment. The bad guys, the other Highlanders, captured her in a battle and are going to pay Cameron off with her and maybe her younger sister, or I guess it's her cousin, who's only 13. And no one's right out saying that they're going to abuse either of them, but it's not great treatment of women. Although this gal, Avery, she's got a dagger on her hip, which he discovers, and he's glancing up her skirts, kind of. At one point, Avery and Cameron, this is our hero and heroine, are in like a all-out brawl. And it's fun, though. This is like Highlander fun. I think, I hope. She also describes him as a very handsome man, and this is the most handsome man I've heard described so far. Is it the most highbrow of the books that I've read so far? No. Is it maybe the one that could potentially be the best Highland escapism? Yes. But I have one more. So we're gonna see what happens, and then which direction I'm gonna head in. We'll see. Oh boy, I just read the first chapter of Highland Treasure by Lindsay Sands. No, I did not care for it. It follows a gal named Ella Sand. She has just been beaten to a pulp by a rival clan. She doesn't know the information that they're trying to get out of her, and man, are they ever doing a number on her. It was a lot about bile coming up in her throat and pain and being beaten, and it's just not my favorite. She's in a dungeon. She gets rescued by one of her maids, handmaidens. A handmaid then takes Ella Sand to her mother, who has also been beaten and is about to die. Good stuff, fun times. Oh my goodness. And I've read Lindsay Sands before, so I know she's capable of quite a lot of abuse against women in her stories. So this is going to be an interesting decision. The next time you see me, I will have my decision made on which Highlander book to go with. Oh boy.
Water! Water. Wow. Can you come look at them? Come. Come on.
Okay, it's decision time. And this decision may be one that you don't expect. In the 10 months that I've been doing this, I always sort of skirt the rules a little bit that I've made for myself. And this is no exception. So the first 3 books that I read the first chapter of sound terrific. The Making of a Highlander might be a little too sad, and he is English. So I didn't really want to go with that one. The Highlander's English Bride doesn't feel Highlandery enough either. I know that's not really a word. I'm making that up. But yes, she is not Scottish, and also, at least in the beginning, I know this is set in England, and I'm really wanting something that's set in the Highlands. Later on, of course, I remembered that this does move to the Highlands, but by this point, I had already moved on. I do want to come back to it, though. And then we have Scot Under the Covers. This one is entirely set in England, to my knowledge. So it is, again, not Highlandery enough for me. Then we've got 2 that are very Highlander. However, I'm not really thrilled with how the women are being treated, and I think that would be an issue for me. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to call in the A-Team. These 2 books right here, I've heard a million good things about. I didn't pick them at first on purpose because I knew if I picked one of them, they would be the easy contender. I would definitely wind up going with one of these 2. And at some point, I know I wanted to read both of them anyway. So here we are. Now we have 2 more choices because I don't want to pick any of the 5 I just read. So now we're going with the big ones, and we're going to see which one winds up being the top contender. So let's talk about both of these. The Secret by Julie Garwood. It's the first book in the Highlands Lairds series. Got a 4.25 on Goodreads. I've heard nothing but fabulous things. Judith Hampton was as beautiful as she was proud, as purposeful as she was loyal. The dear Scottish friend of her childhood was about to give birth, and Judith had promised to be at her side. But there was another private reason for the journey from her bleak English home to the Highlands to meet the father she had never known, the Laird Maclean. Nothing prepared her for the sight of the Scottish barbarian who was to escort her into his land, Ian Maitland, Laird of his clan, a man more powerfully compelling than any she had ever encountered. I'm getting road trip. We're going to the Highlands. Hooray. This is what I'm looking for. In a spirited clash of wills and customs, Judith reveled in the melting bliss of Ian's searching kisses, his passionate caresses. Perplexed by her sprightly defiance, bemused by her tender nature, Ian felt his soul growing into the light and warmth of her love. This sounds beautiful. Surely nothing would wrench her from the affection and trust of Ian and his clan. Not even the truth about her father. A devastating secret that could shatter the boldest alliance and the most glorious of loves. Oh, sounds very good. And then we will jump into the other one, The Highwayman by Kerrigan Byrne. I've not read Kerrigan Byrne yet either. Both of these authors are new to me, but they're some of the biggest romance authors out there. This is book 1 of the Victorian Rebel series. So both of these are books, the first books in their series, also good. This one got a 4.10 on Goodreads. They're rebels, scoundrels, and blackguards. Dark, dashing men on the wrong side of the law. But for the women who love them, a hint of danger only makes the heart beat faster. This is not my go-to necessarily, so I don't know if I'm going to be picking this. Stealing Beauty. Dorian Blackwell, the black heart of Ben Moore, is a ruthless villain. Scarred and hard-hearted, Dorian is one of London's wealthiest, most influential men who will stop at nothing to wreak vengeance on those who've wronged him, and will fight to the death to seize what he wants. The lovely, still innocent widow, Farah Lee Mackenzie, is no exception. And soon Dorian whisks the beautiful lass away to his sanctuary in the wild Highlands. Again, road trip to the Highlands. Sounds good. Courting Desire. But Farah is no one's puppet. She possesses a powerful secret. Also has a secret. These books sound very similar. One that threatens her very life. When being held captive by Dorian proves to be the only way to keep Farah safe from those who would see her dead, Dorian makes Farah a scandalous proposition. Marry him for protection in exchange for using her secret to help him exact revenge on his enemies. But what the black heart of Ben Moore never could have imagined is that Farah has terms of her own, igniting a tempestuous desire that consumes them both. Could it be that the woman he captured is the only one who can touch the black heart he'd long thought dead? Sounds really good. I'm going to read the first chapter of each of these, report back to you. There will be a decision. I am going to be reading one of these books. You just never know what's going to happen, folks, right? That's why these blogs are interesting. Hopefully. First chapter of both of the books today because I needed to get this done. This vlog has already gone on long enough, so I'm going to do a quick synopsis of both of these chapters. So let's talk about The Secret by Julie Garwood. Adorable. You've got two girls, one is English, one is Scottish. They become best of friends one summer, and then they get together every summer thereafter, and it's like time has never passed for either of them. But they're just the sweetest things, and they don't realize until they've gotten much older that the English and the Scottish really don't like each other. So thankfully that doesn't seem to be hurting their friendship. Both of them have parents who have passed away. The Scottish gal lives with her father, who is a laird, I believe, and then the English gal lives with her mother and her uncle. But at the very end, there's a cliffhanger, which is the reason that the English gal's mother hates the Scottish so much is because she's married to someone who's Scottish, which means that our gal, who is English, has a Scottish father. Then let's talk about The Highwayman. People have told me, they've warned me left, right, and sideways that Kerrigan Byrne is dark, and they don't know if I can handle it. And I don't know either. But here's the thing. I'm just going to tell you flat out, I'm in it now. I read the first chapter. We have Dugan and Farah and their children at this orphanage. She teaches him to read. Poor little thing. He's starving all the time. He got caught stealing some bread and they lashed him. He was hurting his hands and she helped heal his hands. And they developed this incredible friendship. She's teaching him to read, which that just got me that he couldn't read. They both come to the orphanage for different reasons, but he's basically spent his life there and she had come there
recently due to her family circumstances. They fall in love, even just as children. They just love each other. They don't care. I mean, they're like each other's family. It was so sweet. I couldn't even stand it. And one night he has her meet him in this church, and he says all the marriage type things that he can think of so that they're married. And I think he's like 13 and she's 10. And it's just the sweetest thing. But she does tell him that she's supposed to betrothed to someone else. The family member who dropped her off at the orphanage, I think it was her uncle, said, I'll be coming back for you when you hit a certain age, because then you have to go get married to so-and-so. But she still gets married to Dugan one night. And then not long after, see, this is where it gets maybe dark. And I'm afraid it's going to be darker still. But one of the friars who works at the orphanage, she was 10. He grabbed her and was trying to kiss her, and he like ripped her dress, and he said that she's given him impure thoughts or something. It was awful, just awful. And she went and got in bed with Dugan to protect her because she was terrified. She didn't know where else to go. And she knew that now this friar is on the lookout for her because she just stabbed him with a letter opener. As the chapter closes, he's trying to escape with her from the orphanage, and they get captured and they get split apart, and you don't really know what's going to happen, but you get the sense they've decided that Farah is valuable and that Dugan is not. So my guess is they kick Dugan out. And this is the beginning of him becoming bad, so to speak. But I'm in it now. I need to know what happens. I need both of these people to have a happily ever after together. I couldn't believe it just in the first chapter how sucked in I got. Of all the books that I've read, now there have been 7. I was gasping and tearing up. It was emotional. Hopefully it's not going to be too emotional. We'll see. The next time you see me, I will have finally read one of these books. And I can't wait to tell you all about it.
Please excuse the sideways sandbox that's in the back. We're just making sure it doesn't get filled with water during the winter. Although, hey look, it's mid-April and it's 80 degrees, which is kind of insane. Anyway, let's talk about The Highwayman. I just finished. It was incredible. Beautifully written by the author. I'm giving this 4 stars, not 5, just because for me, it was a little too gritty. The author doesn't shy away from the dark, seedy underbelly of London, or certainly prison life. And Dorian Blackwell, who turns out to be, I would say hero, but he is the consummate anti-hero. He wants to possess Farah. He would go to the ends of the earth for her, but he can't love her. He isn't willing or able. And she wants to break those walls down. There are so many twists and turns to this that I don't want to give anything away in case you want to read it, because I do highly recommend it. If you're like me though, and like the lighter side, just read something fun after it, or don't read right before bed. But it was really a good story. It had the really intense feelings that remind me of Again the Magic. But Again the Magic wasn't quite so dark. This was a complex plot, but one that I could actually follow, which I really appreciated. But yes, it's all about the healing powers of love. There was a great deal of excitement in this. There wasn't a lot of Highlander in this. After everything, I got to a point where I forgot all about that because the story was just so well told. I still need to scratch my Highlander itch though, so I'm gonna have to go back and read at least one of the other books from this vlog. I want to thank you for coming with me on this journey. I loved sharing this with you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is you're reading, whether it's Highlander or not, like me. I don't know if I just read Highlander or not, honestly. Until next time, thanks so much. Take care. Bye.